Imagine this. The narrator's voice begins, low and steady. A speeding ticket. A simple fine. But within minutes, it becomes something far greater. Not a punishment for the guilty, but a test for the man in the judge's chair. The courtroom is half full, the usual morning crowd. Sunlight filters through old stained glass, cutting stripes of gold across the benches. Someone coughs. A police officer sips coffee by the door. Everything feels ordinary, until the clerk calls the next name. Case of Alex Klein. A teenager steps forward, 17, maybe 18. Black hoodie, cap turned backward, phone in his hand like armor. He doesn't look nervous. He looks bored. Judge Caprio studies him with quiet curiosity. Good morning, young man. You're Alex Klein? Guess so. The boy mutters, not looking up. If it matters. The judge's smile doesn't falter. It might not matter to me, but it could to you. A small ripple of laughter moves through the gallery. Alex glances up, smirking. You sure about that? Caprio opens the file. 47 miles an hour in a 25 zone. Near a school. That sound right. Alex shrugs. I was late. Didn't hit anyone. So what's the big deal? The big deal, the judge says evenly, is that the law doesn't wait for damage before it speaks. The boy leans on the podium. Law's just for old people who are scared of living. That hits the room like a slap. The quiet shifts. A man in the back mutters something under his breath. Caprio doesn't move, doesn't even blink. So, he says softly, you think I'm one of those old people? Alex lifts his chin. I think you sit there pretending to help people. But really? You're just wasting time. You're useless. A sharp intake of breath from somewhere behind him. The courtroom freezes. For a long second, even the hum of the ceiling fan seems to stop. Caprio sets his pen down, folds his hands, and says quietly, you know, usually when someone breaks the law, I pass judgment. But today, he pauses. Today I might have to decide who really deserves it. The words hang in the air. Alex frowns, uncertain for the first time. The audience waits, half expecting the judge to explode, to order the bailiff to escort the boy out. But Caprio simply leans back in his chair. Tell me something, Alex, he says, voice calm. Do you think being angry makes you strong? The boy hesitates, then shrugs again, masking the flicker of doubt. Better than being weak. Caprio nods slowly. Maybe. Or maybe it's just another kind of cage. He doesn't explain what he means. He doesn't have to. The silence that follows feels alive, stretching out until it presses against the walls. Then, with deliberate ease, Caprio closes the file. We'll come back to the speeding later. Right now, I'd rather understand the person behind the wheel. Alex shifts uncomfortably. What's there to understand? You'd be surprised, the judge replies. His tone is soft, almost kind, but his eyes, sharp, unwavering. Don't let the boy look away. For the first time, Alex lowers his phone. In that moment, the courtroom stops being a stage for a traffic case. It becomes something else, quieter, heavier, charged with an invisible weight neither of them fully recognizes yet. Somewhere in the back, someone whispers, he's not going to yell. But Judge Caprio doesn't need to. His calm is its own authority, the kind that cuts deeper than any raised voice could. And as the boy crosses his arms, defiant but uncertain, the judge's words echo softly through the hall. Let's find out what really brought you here, Alex. Because sometimes, the fine isn't for breaking the law. It's for breaking something inside yourself. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Caprio doesn't touch the gavel. He simply watches the boy for a moment, as if searching for something beyond his face, something buried. Then, quietly, let's make a deal, Alex. For the next few minutes, forget the ticket. Just tell me who you are. Alex exhales sharply. What's that supposed to mean? It means, Caprio says, that I'd rather know the person than the charge. The boy smirks. You're not a therapist, Judge? No, Caprio replies. But I've met enough broken people to recognize when someone's trying to pretend they aren't. The words land heavier than expected. Alex looks away, pretending to scroll through his phone. His voice cracks slightly when he answers. Fine. You want to know? My name's Alex Klein. 17. North Providence. My mom works 2 jobs. I don't see her much. My dad, he stops. Doesn't matter. It matters to you. Caprio says gently. The boy's shoulders stiffen. Look, I handle myself, okay? I drive myself to school. I make my own money fixing scooters, I don't need people telling me how to live. Caprio's tone stays even. And the fines? You pay those too? Alex scoffs. No, my mom does. When she can. The judge nods slowly, the faintest sigh escaping. So, you handle everything yourself, as long as someone else takes the fall. A few heads in the gallery turn. Alex feels the heat of their attention. You don't know me, he mutters. That's why I'm asking, Caprio replies. The courtroom feels smaller now. The space between them, judge and defendant, shrinks with each word. Alex folds his arms. You wouldn't get it. You grew up safe. Rules worked for you. Caprio leans forward, his voice quieter now, almost a whisper. You think so? The tone is different, not defensive, but heavy. When I was your age, my father worked every day of his life. Bricklayer. He used to come home with his hands so torn he couldn't hold a fork. I watched him die thinking he hadn't done enough. Don't tell me I don't understand what it's like to fight your own world. Alex stares, surprised. It's not the kind of answer he expected from a man in robes. The judge sits back again, softer now. Anger's a funny thing, Alex. It feels like control, but really, it's just fear wearing a louder mask. The boy frowns. Fear of what? Of being seen, Caprio answers. Because once someone really sees you, they can hurt you, right? For a second, Alex's expression falters. He opens his mouth, then closes it. The arrogance is gone, replaced by something uncertain, almost boyish. The judge doesn't press. He simply lets the silence breathe. The old clock ticks above them, steady, patient. Finally, Alex says, barely audible, you said you've seen broken people. Maybe I just don't want to be one of them. Caprio nods. Then stop pretending you're made of steel. Nobody is. There's a pause that feels longer than it is. Then the judge gestures to the papers in front of him. You know, your case file is thin. No priors. No reckless record. But it's what's missing that interests me. Alex glances up. Missing? 2 months ago, Caprio says, tapping the page, you skipped school. Got a ticket for parking outside a closed lot. That day something changed. The notes here say your mother called the school. Said you'd been quiet ever since. What happened that day? The question lands like a quiet bell. Not accusing, not demanding. Just real. Alex's throat tightens. He forces a laugh, but it doesn't stick. Nothing. Just didn't feel like going. The judge studies him. You sure? Alex looks down. His jaw works, but no words come out. The courtroom is silent except for the faint hum of the lights. Then Caprio says, gently, you don't have to say it today, but you will. Because the truth always finds its way out, even if it starts as a whisper. He lifts his gavel slightly, but doesn't strike it. We'll take a short recess, he says. Not for the court, for you. Alex blinks. For me. Caprio nods. Go outside. Breathe. Think about who's paying for your choices and who's paying for your silence. The gavel taps once. Light, restrained, almost symbolic. As the boy turns to leave, someone whispers from the gallery. That judge, he's not judging him. And they're right. He isn't. He's waiting for the truth that still hides behind the anger. When the door closes behind Alex, Caprio exhales, staring at the file that suddenly feels heavier than paper. He murmurs to himself, almost a prayer. Sometimes the hardest cases are the ones where the guilty just need to forgive themselves. When the recess ends, the courtroom feels different. The hum of voices is lower, the air more watchful. Alex walks back in slower this time, without his phone. His eyes dart briefly toward the floor before meeting the judge's gaze. Caprio studies him quietly, then nods to the clerk. Let's continue, he says softly. Mr. Klein, before the break, I asked you about that other citation. The one from 2 months ago. Would you like to tell me what really happened? Alex exhales through his nose. You wouldn't care. I wouldn't have asked if I didn't. The boy's jaw tightens. He looks toward the benches, strangers staring, waiting, then back to Caprio. That day, I left school. I didn't tell anyone. Why? Alex's voice wavers, then steadies, clipped and cold. Because they were doing some ceremony. For veterans. The principal said we should honor the fallen. They read names. My dad's was on the list. Caprio doesn't move, only listens. Alex keeps going, words tumbling faster, sharper. Everyone kept saying he was a hero. But none of them were there when my mom cried for weeks. None of them sat at that kitchen table trying to figure out how to keep the lights on. He left to be a hero, and I got stuck trying to fill a ghost's shoes. He laughs once, a hollow, fragile sound. So yeah, I left. I didn't want to hear them thank him. I didn't want to clap. A stillness spreads across the room. Even the bailiff lowers his eyes. Caprio's voice is almost a whisper. Alex, what was your father's name? The boy hesitates. Daniel Klein. Sergeant. Marine Corps. Something in the judge's expression changes. Not pity, not surprise, but a deep, quiet recognition. I remember that name, he says. There was an article. Providence Journal, 2010. A roadside bomb outside Kandahar. Alex nods once. Yeah, that's him. For a long moment, no one speaks. Then Caprio sets his pen down carefully, as though the slightest motion might shatter the fragile calm. Your father's service, it's not a debt you have to repay by being angry at the world. He already paid it. You're allowed to live differently. Alex clenches his fists. That's easy for you to say. You didn't lose him. Caprio looks up, and for the first time, his voice carries a trace of something personal. I lost a brother in Vietnam. He was 19. Thought the same thing, that dying for a cause would make life make sense. It didn't. All it did was leave us trying to make peace with the silence he left behind. The boy looks at him, the sarcasm gone. The words hit somewhere he can't defend. Alex. Caprio continues quietly. I'm not here to judge your pain. I'm here to make sure it doesn't decide who you become. The courtroom feels suspended, everyone holding their breath. After a few seconds, Alex speaks, voice breaking. Everyone keeps telling me to be proud of him. But every time I try, it just makes me angry. Because if he loved us, why'd he have to go? It's the first real confession, raw, unfiltered. Caprio doesn't answer right away. He lets the question linger, its weight filling the space between them. When he finally speaks, it's not as a judge, but as someone who spent a lifetime learning where pain hides. Maybe he went because he believed protecting others was the only way to love. Maybe he was wrong about that. But that doesn't mean you have to keep punishing yourself for his choices. Alex wipes his sleeve across his face quickly, pretending it's nothing. So what now? You gonna fine me for being messed up? The judge shakes his head. No, I'm going to ask you something harder. What? To stop pretending you're the only one still fighting the war he left behind. The words sink in. Somewhere near the back, someone exhales shakily. Caprio closes the folder in front of him. Your father's name deserves respect, Alex. But so does yours. You're not a shadow. You're still here, alive. And that means you get to choose what comes next. The boy nods faintly, eyes glassy but determined not to let the tears fall. For the first time, the tension in the room feels like release. The judge gestures toward the bailiff. Bring me the photo from that clipping, if we can find it. I think we owe Sergeant Klein a word or two before we finish. Alex blinks. What for? Caprio smiles gently. Because sometimes, before we forgive the dead, we need to let the living speak. The gavel rests silent on the bench. No sentence, no verdict. Just the hum of the lights, and a courtroom that suddenly feels more like a place of healing than punishment. The silence that follows Alex's confession is almost physical, thick, heavy, impossible to ignore. Even the hum of the fluorescent lights seems distant. Judge Caprio sits motionless for a few seconds, the weight of the boy's words hanging between them. Alex, he says quietly, your father must have been a good man. Alex's voice is low, almost a growl. He was a hero. That's what everyone says. But I hate when they do. Because I'm not a hero. I'm just tired of being compared to one. Caprio studies him, not as a judge, but as a man trying to see through the fog of someone else's pain. So you hate everything that reminds you of him. The uniforms, the rules, even people who try to teach you? Alex nods sharply. Yeah, maybe you too. You sit up there in that robe, and everyone listens. You tell people what's right. If he were here, you'd be telling him the same thing. A few people gasp softly. The air tightens. But Caprio doesn't react. No flash of anger, no shift in tone. He just stands, slowly, and reaches for something on the bench beside him. When he turns back, there's a small, worn frame in his hands. The sound of wood against the desk is quiet but clear. He holds it up so the boy can see. Inside the frame is an old photograph, a young Frank Caprio in military fatigues, standing on a sun-bleached base, squinting into the camera. I wore a uniform too, the judge says. His voice carries a calm gravity, stripped of formality. My son did as well. And every night he was overseas, I sat awake wondering if I'd ever get a call, the one that would take him from me. Alex blinks. The anger in his face falters, replaced by something smaller, more uncertain. Caprio sets the photo down gently. You don't have to be your father, Alex. You don't even have to understand him yet. But you do have to stop fighting the parts of you that came from him. The strength, the heart, the courage to care, even when it hurts. For a moment, the boy doesn't move. Then his voice, quieter. It's just, every time people talk about him, it's like I disappear. Like I'm just what's left. Caprio steps closer, resting his hands on the edge of the bench. You're not what's left. You're what continues. The only thing your father can't be anymore is alive. And that's what you still are? The courtroom feels smaller, closer. Alex looks down, then up again, his expression raw, unguarded. Caprio's tone softens even more. I can't give you your father back. But I can tell you this. He'd rather see you stumble forward than hide behind anger. You can't honor the dead by burying yourself with them. Alex swallows hard, his eyes glassy but steady. I don't know how to stop. You start, the judge says, by listening, by forgiving him, and maybe yourself. For a few long seconds, no one breathes. Then the judge leans back and nods slightly, almost to himself. Court will recess, he says quietly. Not because I need a break, but because sometimes, when truth finally shows up, we owe it a moment of silence. The gavel touches the wood. One light, deliberate sound that echoes through the room like the heartbeat of something fragile but alive. As Alex turns to leave, he glances once more at the photograph on the desk. The man in the picture is young, standing straight, sunlight in his eyes. Not so different from him after all. For the first time, Alex looks like he's really seeing someone, and maybe, just maybe, beginning to see himself. When the courtroom reconvenes, the morning light has shifted, softer now, spilling across the wooden benches like a quiet benediction. Judge Caprio settles back into his chair, his face calm but unreadable. Alex sits differently too. No slouching, no crossed arms, just stillness. The judge speaks first, voice measured but warm. Alex, the law says you broke a rule. But I think what really broke was trust between you and your mother. Alex looks down. She just doesn't get it. Caprio tilts his head. Or maybe she gets it too well. Maybe that's what scares her. A flicker crosses the boy's face. Confusion, then guilt. She pays the fines because she doesn't want me to end up like him. She thinks if she keeps me busy, I won't leave like he did. No, Caprio says gently. She pays them because she misses him every day, and she sees him in you. The same eyes, the same fire. That's not fear, Alex. That's grief trying to keep you safe. The boy swallows hard, his jaw trembling slightly. I thought she was just mad at me all the time. She's mad, the judge says softly, because it hurts to love someone who reminds you of what you lost. The courtroom is silent again, not heavy this time, but reverent. Caprio opens a new folder on his desk. You know, I checked your record again during the break. There's something interesting here. He flips a page. That last speeding ticket? It's been paid. Alex frowns. Paid? No, it wasn't. Oh, it was. This morning. Caprio lifts a letter from the file, its edges slightly wrinkled. By your teacher, Mrs. Thompson. Alex blinks. What? Why would she? Caprio reads aloud, his tone even but steady. This boy isn't a delinquent. He's a kid who's angry because no one has told him he's allowed to be sad. Maybe if someone showed him kindness instead of punishment, he'd stop fighting everyone, including himself. The boy stares at him, stunned. A few murmurs ripple through the gallery. She paid it? He asks, barely audible. She did, Caprio nods. And she wrote that letter because she still believes you're worth saving from your own anger. Alex lets out a shaky laugh. She hated me. I used to sleep through her class. Maybe she didn't hate you, the judge says. Maybe she saw herself, someone who'd lost faith once, and didn't want to watch another person do the same. The boy rubs a hand over his face. I never said thank you. Caprio smiles faintly. You just did. He folds the letter carefully and places it back in the file. You know, Alex, sometimes justice isn't about punishment. It's about reminding someone that they still have people who care, even when they think they don't deserve it. Alex nods slowly, absorbing every word. Then, after a moment, what happens now? Caprio's eyes soften. Now, you start earning the faith people keep spending on you. The judge leans forward, elbows on the desk, voice low but firm. Your teacher believes in you. Your mother loves you. And your father, wherever he is, would rather see you fight for your life than fight against it. Alex breathes out, long and uneven. The weight in his shoulders seems to shift, as though something he's been carrying has finally cracked open. Caprio closes the folder and rests his hands atop it. This case isn't about guilt anymore. It's about growth. And growth starts the moment you stop hiding behind excuses. For the first time, Alex doesn't argue. He just nods, quietly. You really think I can change? The judge's answer is simple, almost tender. I don't think you can. I think you already are. There's a rustle of movement in the courtroom. Not applause, not chatter, just a collective exhale. Caprio gives one final nod. Court will reconvene tomorrow morning. Not because we need to, but because sometimes a boy needs to see the same faces twice to realize they're not going anywhere. As Alex stands to leave, he glances back at the bench. The judge is watching him, not as a defendant, but as a young man finally beginning to understand the meaning of mercy. And for the first time since the hearing began, Alex doesn't look angry. He looks alive. A week passes. The morning light in the Providence courtroom looks different now, brighter, less heavy. The benches aren't full this time, just a handful of people, including a boy in a plain gray hoodie, standing near the front. Alex. He looks older somehow, not in years, but in weight lifted. When Judge Caprio enters, Alex straightens, no defiance in his eyes, only a quiet steadiness. Mr. Klein, the judge begins. You've been busy this week, haven't you? Alex nods. Yes, sir. I went to the Veterans Center like you said. Helped paint the walls. Served lunch. Talked to people. He pauses, then adds softly. Listened, too. Caprio smiles faintly. And what did you hear? Stories, Alex says. About fear. About losing friends. About trying to come home, but never really getting there. The judge leans forward. And what did that teach you? Alex takes a breath. That my dad wasn't trying to leave us. He was trying to come back to us the only way he knew. I get that now. The words hang in the air, quiet and clean, the kind that don't need to be dressed up. Caprio's eyes glint with something that might be pride. And your mother? Alex hesitates. I called her last night. Told her I was sorry. She cried. Then she told me she'd been waiting 5 years to hear that. The judge nods slowly, a small smile forming. That's a fine start, son. Alex glances down, then looks back up. You know you were right. I thought you were just some old guy behind a desk. But you were the first person who didn't just tell me what I did wrong. You told me why it mattered. Caprio chuckles lightly. Well, if that's the worst thing you ever say about me, I'll take it. The courtroom relaxes, a few people smile. The judge picks up his gavel but doesn't raise it yet. I told you that justice isn't always about punishment. It's about perspective. You've earned yours. He pauses, his tone turning softer. Your case is dismissed, Alex. But remember, responsibility doesn't end when the file closes. Alex nods. I know. I'm going to keep volunteering at the center. Feels right. Caprio's smile deepens. Good. Maybe one day, when another kid walks in here angry at the world, you'll be the one who reminds him there's still a way forward. Alex hesitates, then says quietly, You know what's funny? I used to think you were useless. Caprio grins. And now, I think you're the first grown-up who didn't give up on me. The judge sets down the gavel without striking it. Then maybe justice did its job after all. The sound of benches creaking, shoes on old wood, people rising. The light through the high windows flares gold for a moment, washing over them both. Caprio watches the boy leave, then murmurs almost to himself. Sometimes the verdict isn't about who was wrong. It's about who finally understood. The courtroom door closes softly behind Alex. And in the hush that follows, the echo of his footsteps feels less like an ending, and more like the start of something decent, something earned, something human.